Well, good afternoon. Welcome to Sunday live stream with Crowd Church. I don't know about you, sir. I was just into the music then, reading the comments on Facebook. I had no idea it was about to end.
Oh, right. So that could have been an interesting moment, seeing you not ready on camera there, Matt. That would have been funny. Hi,
Very
everyone.
close.
Lovely to
Very
see you
close.
this afternoon. You are very welcome here at Crowd Church this afternoon, a digital church for those people who want to find out a little bit more about Jesus, a little bit more about Christianity, about faith. Maybe don't see a point to going to church, but you want to come along and join us. Well, you are very, very welcome today.
Absolutely. You are very welcome here. As Sal said, we are a digital church. Digital church. Can you believe it? This is what we do. We do church online. So it is a community. Do come join in. Say hi in the comments. Be great to hear from you. Great to connect with you. Even if you've never been here before. Even if you're kind of like new to this whole Christian thing. Just say hi. It's always great to connect with new people. And just as we go through, if you have any questions, thoughts or comments, put them in the comments and someone will hopefully get back to you with a semi-reasonable answer.
Yeah, we can't promise it'll be reasonable, but we certainly will try and get back to you. So definitely, we love it when you join in the comments. So please do that. There's also other ways of getting in touch with us as well, but as if by magic, the WhatsApp number will appear.
Ta-da!
There we are. Well done, Matt. And you can certainly contact us on that as well. If you've got anything you'd like to say, any questions you'd like to ask us, or maybe you'd like some prayer, then we would love for you to contact us by that number as well, if you prefer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Sal, welcome back. First and foremost, great that you're here.
Thank you. Thank you. Just a little rest and recuperation last week, which was much needed. So thank you very much. Did you miss me, Matt?
Loads. I think everyone else did as well, to be fair, Sal. Everyone's like, the live stream's just boring, Matt, when it's just you on your own.
I think it's because there isn't somebody to kind of, take the mickey out of you on a Sunday afternoon, Matt. So I'll do my best, everyone, to fulfill that role this afternoon. But no,
I'm slightly nervous because you've got like 2 weeks worth of, stuff to make up for. It's like...
Well, let's just say, Matt, if that later on we do this thing at Crowd Church called Catchup, there might just be a little something for you there this afternoon, which I've asked Josh to put in. So perhaps, stay around for the catch up this afternoon. So let's tell everyone, shall we, Matt, what we've got lined up for today?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's move on quickly because it's going to go down. So let me tell you what's coming up today. We have got a series of videos coming up. Now, today is Mother's Day. If you're watching this in the UK, we celebrate Mother's Day today. We don't actually celebrate Mother's Day the same day around the world.
No.
And I realized this several years ago to my cost, right? So I used to live in the States, and my mum, my beautiful, amazing, fantastic mum, if you're watching, happy Mother's Day, love you loads, you're an absolute legend.
What a saint, Matt Edmondson's mum. Happy Mother's Day.
She deserves a medal, to be fair, me and my brother. And so I was in the States, right? Living in the States. And I spoke to my mum on the phone. She's like, where was my card? My Mother's Day card. I'm like, what are you talking about? Mother's Day's not happened yet. It's like,
Matt.
It's way down the line. And she's like, no, it was last week. I was like,
dear.
I discovered we don't celebrate it the same day every day. Now, what I did do that Mother's Day was I drew this kind of cartoon story of me forgetting Mother's Day. That, on an A4 piece of paper, my mum has had framed. It is still up in the house, right? So every time I go home, I'm reminded of the fact that one Mother's Day, I missed it.
You forgot. Yeah, so has she framed that because it's just so sentimental and lovely and just reminds her of her beautiful little bouncing baby boy? Or is it as a constant reminder of, Matt, don't let it happen again. Do not forget Mother's Day.
I'm going with the latter. I've never describe myself as a beautiful baby bouncing baby boy. Was that what you call me?
I'm sure you were at one point in your life, Matt.
Yeah, I'm sure I was. Maybe we'll find out later in Crowd Catchup. So
Yeah, so it is Mother's Day today, and so the theme is all about faith and motherhood. Now, we know that Mother's Day isn't always an easy day, and it's very different for lots of different people, and we do recognise that today. So if that's you today and you're not feeling, in that celebratory kind of way that some mothers are, then we want you to know that we do acknowledge that, and that is addressed in the talks that the ladies are going to be doing in a little while. So please stay with us, and we hope that you'll get some kind of comfort from the things that we're discussing today as well.
Absolutely. Well said, Sal. Well said. After the amazing stories, I've actually heard them, the amazing stories today, we have got worship, which we'll talk more about in a little while. Then we are going to have like a Q&A discussion time. So we're going to do that whole discussion thing where Sal and I are going to talk about your questions and comments, which you put in the feed based on the videos and talks from today. And then after that, we will close out the service with a little bit more worship. The whole thing is going to go on till about 4:45, 5 o'clock, somewhere around there. So that's the service. That's what's coming out.
That was brilliant.
Absolutely, it's going to be great. And if this is your first time with us, a big warm welcome to you. Do stick around to the end because it's just great. We love church. We love online church, and we hope that you find Jesus as inspiring as we do.
Absolutely. And it's great to be together. It's great to see your comments. Do get involved. Now, if you were with us over some of our Christmas online services, we did a special little feature called Kids Say the Funniest Things. And we thought that we should have a little reprise of this for Mother's Day, didn't we, Matt? We thought that this was a good time to bring it back.
Absolutely. So we have got the Kids Say the Funniest Thing, which is going to kick off today's talk. Now, before we do that, should we jump over to the comments? Sal, I'm hoping you can see them on your screen. We'll say how's it to a few people,
screen.
And then we'll kick off. Okay.
Can I just say before you do that, can I just go back to a comment that was quite near the beginning from Matt Crew, who was on quite early and clearly was watching the little bit of footage that Matt puts together at the beginning. And if you notice this, you'll notice that the one bit from my talk that I did a few weeks ago that Matt has chosen to pick out is the bit where I talk about my speeding ticket. And a little police car goes across the bottom of so that's really, really kind of Matt to just do that so that every week that comes up. And Matt Crew's obviously loving that, and the little gags of speeding to the sofa and things. Thanks for that, Matt. So if ever you feel there's one too many jokes at your expense, just remember that. Just remember that little one.
Well, it's the only one that I have, Sal. And so I make the most of it every week. To be fair, at some point it will get changed, I've no doubt. We've just not had a chance to change it. Is my excuse, and I'm sticking to it.
I'll hold you to that, Matt. But yeah, let's say hi to a few people. It's love to have Gemma Orange with us. Brilliant to have you along this afternoon. Sharon and Matt and John as well. Claire, lovely to have you. Claire will be one of the women that is doing one of the talks for us today, and that is excellent. So definitely stick around for that.
Apparently, Claire is going to be dipping in and out between this and a game of Uno with the kids.
Okay.
So I want to know who wins that game. Yeah.
I do. Yeah. My money's on Sam, but we'll see. Let us know, Claire.
Sharon, John's Harding here. Sharon, do you have a photo of Matt's picture for his mum you could share? I would love to see that. You know what? I don't actually have that's a very good thing. I will try and dig out a copy of that. We'll try and get my mum to send me a photo. In fact, babe, as you're watching this, could you text mum to get her to send a photo of that thing from Mother's Day so we can then show it on the live stream?
That would be good.
Well,
that would be good.
Yeah, that would be very good. Sorry, I don't. They're quite special though. Okay, so you're talking about, okay, yeah, brilliant. Right. All right, let's a big fat warm welcome to everyone. Great to have you all on the live stream. It really is. Let's kick off, like Sal said, with Kids Say the Funniest Things. Grab your cup of coffees. Or whatever it is, your chocolates, your tea, get the kids to go and massage your feet or do something whilst you're watching this. And we're gonna kick off.
The best thing about my mum is that she gives me the best cuddles in the world. I love him.
What's the best thing about Mummy?
I said I love him.
Okay.
I love her kisses and cuddles. My mummy is the best at cooking and the best at helping me do artwork. I really love Mummy because she's always on my side and she'll love me until I'm very, very big. I love my mum's personality.
Oh, you're
she's helpful, she's kind, and she is loving, and and some other stuff, but I really like her. Please can I have my chocolates now?
Hi everybody, happy Mother's Day. We're outside today, the sun is shining, it feels like spring is in the air, or certainly on its way, and there's a little bit of hope around the corner. So, happy Mother's Day. How do you feel when I say that? It's a difficult one, isn't it? And for me, it comes with two really big emotions. Firstly, it makes me feel sad. When I see it everywhere and I see it in the shops and everything, I feel that sense of loss, because my mum died young, and so I don't get to send her a Mother's Day card or plan a special treat for us or see her on those days, and it makes me miss her even more. But on the other hand, I've got two amazing daughters, and I know that they're going to want to celebrate Mother's Day with me, and that's amazing. I'm so lucky to have them, and I'm so proud of Keone and Willa and the amazing girls that they are. So it's those two very different emotions, and that's quite difficult, isn't it, to manage those two things. So what about you? How does it make you feel? Maybe you have a difficult relationship with your mum, or maybe your mum died young, or perhaps you have longed to be a mum and for whatever reason it hasn't happened for you. Or maybe tragically you've had a miscarriage or lost a child, and I'm so sorry if that's you today, and I want you to know that I acknowledge your pain and that it's okay for you to not want to celebrate Mother's Day, or for you to feel those two very different emotions when somebody says Happy Mother's Day. And I hope that today you know that you are loved and that you can find some comfort today. Now, recently it was the anniversary of my mum's death, and grief just kind of changes as time goes by. And I wrote this poem to sort of explain how I was feeling, and it's called The Lake of Ice. Grief is like a lake of ice that I walk on day by day. Some days the ice is thick, and when the memories come, they come with smiles. Other days the ice is thin, and it's harder to keep walking. On the worst days, like today, there is no ice, and I plunge beneath the icy water. I know I will resurface, but today my heart aches with the loss of you. And it's on those worst days that it's a real comfort to me to know that I can go to God, and that God loves me and He understands, and He can bring me comfort. It's not a magic fix, it doesn't make the pain go away, but it just helps to know that He is there and with me through it. So however you're feeling today, I hope that brings you some comfort. We've got 4 amazing women who are going to share their own stories of their faith and motherhood. So let's hear from them now.
My faith has made a huge difference to me being a mum. I remember when we were trying for a family about 13 years ago, and at the time just thinking, oh, when I get pregnant, it's going to be fine. I mean, how hard can it be? I was a teacher at the time, so I knew how to talk to children. I knew how to teach. I knew how to work with children. And quite naively at that time, that's all I thought I needed to know. And then when I was pregnant with our first son, I became really, really poorly in the pregnancy, and he was born a couple of months early. He was in special care for a month, and it was a really, really hard time. It was incredibly scary from one day to the next. Just knowing that I had God and I could go to Him and tell Him that I was scared, and trusting that if I asked for my son to be healed and asked for him to be okay, I believed that God would do that, and he would allow that, and He was. Our son was fine. We then went on to have a stillbirth a couple of years later, and to this day I don't understand why that happens, and I get incredibly sad and really angry when I think about it. But when I look back I've got no idea how I'd have got through that time without my faith. I would lie in bed at night and I would just cry and pray for God to comfort me, because that's all I knew how to do. I just needed to feel him. I needed to feel comforted and held by him. And I've got no idea how I'd have gone through that without knowing that I would see my daughter again, without knowing that I could get God's comfort. We're now parents to a little girl who's got really complex needs, and our patience is tested on a daily basis. It's exhausting. It's really, really hard work. And lockdown has been really tough. Just before Christmas, her bubble burst in school, and I had no idea how we were going to cope. And I prayed and prayed for patience. And I did feel more patient, but also neighbours dropped round meals after I'd prayed. They dropped round meals and they dropped round craft things for our little girl to make things. It was absolutely amazing. As I've been thinking about this, Psalm 9 verse 10 has come to mind, and it says, "May everyone who knows your mercy keep putting their trust in you, for they can count on you for help no matter what." That has been the biggest thing for me, knowing that when I'm struggling, when my patience is tested, when I don't feel very well, when I'm scared, when I'm anxious, when I don't know what to do, I can go to God and I can just be with him. And it's someone for me to say, I really can't cope. I really need your comfort and I really need your support. And that's how my faith has helped me be a mum.
A little bit of background. I've got 2 children. They're 14 and 11. And anyone who knows me will tell you I love being organised. I love being in control. I love things working out just the way I've planned. So for me, faith really has to step in for the times, and there are multiple, where I'm not in control, where my best laid plans aren't working out, and I heavily rely on God in faith that things will pan out the way I want them to. One such example relatively recently is my youngest son has started senior school, and going back to applications, for those who don't know, in Liverpool you don't all just follow from one primary school to the feeder senior school. You spend your time looking around different schools and you apply orders 1 to 5 and hope to goodness you get the school that will best suit your child. My son applied back in October 2019. We were lucky before the pandemic, and he was able to look around the schools. And having done this process once before with my daughter, we did the same as before. We prayed in faith that as we looked around the schools, we get a real sense of peace at the right school for him. Our application was made and nothing was done then until March, when the results come through, and they come through by email. I waited up 11:58, 11:59, checking my phone, midnight. 1 minute past midnight, the email came through, and my son didn't get his first choice school. He got his second choice, which was one we'd obviously favoured. And immediately my stomach did a somersault. I wasn't in control, and I went back to my default. I prayed, God, Lord, this isn't the school my son wanted as his top choice. I know he's going to be anxious. I know he's going to be fearful. He's not with his friends, potentially. Lord, I just pray that there is a reason he's been given this school, and that he will be happy and settled there, and he will have friends there. The next morning, my son was less than pleased with the news. He was very anxious, mainly about the friendships, I think. But in answer to our prayer, within minutes of arriving at primary school that morning, one of his very closest friends was also going to the school. As we went through the next few months and he was preparing for joining the school, he was still very anxious, but we got news that he was going to be in the same form as his very close friend. So again, he knew he had a friend on the first day. And we just kept praying that this was the right thing for him. As we did a practice bus run, maybe in August, I think it must have been, maybe early September, in preparation from starting the school, on the bus, we actually drove past the school he'd hoped for his first choice, and he looked at me and said, "Mum, I wish I was still going there, but I think I'm going to be okay." So it still got me, but I was reassured, and again we prayed on this. But the first morning he started his new school, again in faith we prayed. My husband and myself together, and he came out buzzing that day. He's gone on through one term of school where fortunately he managed his entire term, September to December, in school before the latest lockdown, and he has grown in friendship, in independence, and I really think this was a total answer to prayer. I thank God that we were in faith and that we stuck with this. We didn't go through appeals or anything else, and he's in a place where he's meant to be. He's in a school and he loves it.
Hi, I'm Kirsten and I've got 2 boys who are 15 and 13. When they were little, we spent quite a bit of time talking about what it might look like to bring them up in the Christian faith, and how we wanted to avoid them thinking that the Bible was just a list of rules and God was some sort of Santa in the sky watching them to see if they were naughty or nice. We thought probably the key to avoid that was to major on forgiveness. Just like the teachings of Jesus major on forgiveness. That's the whole point of the Christian faith. Not a list of rules, but how we can receive God's forgiveness. So we've tried to apply that to how we parent our 2 boys. So for example, we've always tried to apologise to our boys when we've got it wrong. Or say to them, something like, I shouldn't have spoken to you like that. I'm sorry. Or if my husband and I have argued in front of the boys, as we occasionally do, we've tried to make sure that when we've resolved that between us, we've also apologised to one another in front of our children, so they can see how forgiveness heals and strengthens relationships. We've tried to encourage them to take responsibility for their own mistakes and apologise. And as they've got older, we've seen them grow into that. They'll come to us and say, Mum, Dad, I've made this mistake. I shouldn't have done that, and I'm sorry. And when they do that, we try to respond with love and grace, just as God responds to us when we come to him that way. So yes, we just wanted to model that value at the heart of the Christian faith, the value of seeking forgiveness.
The journey of life has been described like a roller coaster, and that is definitely true for the ride of motherhood. It's like an extreme white knuckle ride at a theme park. And that's been my experience over the last 28 years. Whether it's having a brand new baby, dealing with toddlers, preschoolers, then children at school, teenagers, and all the fun that brings. And then the stage that I'm now at, where my children have grown and flown, and I'm navigating my way through parenting adult children. The truth is that it's an adrenaline-fueled ride that goes ups and downs, which is what life is, isn't it? And with every twist and turn that comes, our hearts, mind and bodies can feel kind of knocked about this way and that way. Sometimes literally we feel that we're being turned upside down and inside out in our emotions and with our physical bodies as well. There's tiredness to contend with, and the challenges that brings are the different seasons of parenting. For me, I've come to understand what it means being a Christian, a follower of Jesus. And God's word says, the Bible tells us that God he's with me always. And for me, it's about having his presence and having a relationship with him every moment of every single day. So it's a bit like having God in my roller coaster car. And not just that. It's knowing his security. God's love brings me peace. It brings me joy. It brings me love. It brings me hope. For those moments when actually I feel like I'm literally going to be thrown out of the car. If I'm a roller coaster ride can make you feel sick. It's all that adrenaline that surges. And for me, knowing God's love and knowing God's presence with me in every moment has been the thing that I can say has changed my life as a mum. You know, whether it's going through those early days with new babies, right up into the stage that I'm at now and beyond, becoming a grandparent, I think the truth is, for every single mum, those sleepless nights never end. It doesn't. I might now not be up changing nappies and feeding, making bottles or feeding in the middle of the night, but actually those sleepless nights stay the same. You lay awake and you're worrying about your children. That is a huge burden to carry. Even if you have a great partner to share that with, it's still a huge burden. Whereas for me, having the ability to take all my concerns for my precious ones to God, and the Bible tells me that I can pray about anything at any time. It doesn't matter how big or how small. And I can, as I do that and I pray and I talk to God, which is what prayer is, I just give him my concerns, my worries. And there is this amazing thing that happens that as I speak to him, I know he's taking them, and in the place I receive God's peace and God's love and God's comfort, and I know I can trust him. I'm trusting him for my precious ones. God's promise is that he can be with them all the time, even when I can't. And for a parent, that's a really big thing. It's very different when your children are small and you can strap them in the buggy and you know where they are. But for a parent of adult children, when you're trusting your children, if particularly like mine lived on the other side of the world, you have to trust. I have to trust that God is watching over them, and he is. That is his promise to each one of us, every moment of every single day. And I'm so grateful for that.
Okay, hopefully now you can hear me. Sal's waving at me like this. So sorry about that. Now you can hear me. So just to say again, thank you very much for those videos. Sally, to Claire, to Jenny, to Kirsten, and to Charlotte. They were amazing videos. Really appreciate you doing that. And we are going to be getting into those much more in the Q&A after the worship is happening. So thank you for everybody letting me know that you can now hear me. Hey Charlotte, how you doing? I also see you in the comments. We're going to get into the worship now. I don't know if you remember, but Charlotte in her video, she said something like knowing his presence changed her life as a mum, right? Knowing God's presence changed her life as a mum. And I think that's an amazing statement to make. And this song, well, it's kind of a little bit about that, right? The song's called I Will Exalt. And exalt was just an old word meaning I'm going to lift you up. I'm going to make you higher in my head. So whatever it is that I'm facing, God, I'm going to make you bigger than that. I'm going to put you higher than that. I'm going to trust you more than I trust everything else around me. That's what it means to big up God in some respects. And in this song, sung by John and Anna Grace, it talks about how his presence is all we need. And I was just reminded of those words as Charlotte spoke. So if this is your first time with us, or if you're kind of new to the Christian faith and you've never really done the worship thing before, you can just sing along if you like, or you can just let the words kind of wash over you and think about them as they're on the screen, or think about some of the things that maybe some of the ladies said in the videos. And we'll be back again in just a few minutes time after this, but just enjoy this time as a time of meditation, a time of worship, a time of reflection, and I'll be back again soon.
Your presence is all I need. and there will be no one like you, and no one beside you. You alone are worthy of our praise. I will exalt you, Lord. I will exalt you, Lord. There is no one like you, God. I will exalt you, Lord. I will exalt you, Lord. No other name be lifted high.
Well, big thank you to John and Anna Grace for doing that. Let's bring Sally back onto the screen. Sal, how are we doing? Did
Yeah,
you
good,
nearly
thank
get
you.
caught out then?
Nearly. I thought you were going to waffle for a bit longer like you normally do, but sadly you were like to the point today.
I tell you what, I'm going to remember that. Next time I'm going to see if I can catch you up. That was brilliant. Hey, Sal, listen, huge thank you to you and the ladies for doing those videos.
Yeah, they were so great, weren't they? I'm
Yeah.
just, thank you so much. In case you didn't know, the last lady, Charlotte, she's my sister-in-law, and she is just such an amazing woman. She's always been such an inspiration to me, and was a bit further along in her journey than I was. And so when I didn't kind of have anyone to ask about different things when the kids were little and that, she was always like my go-to person. So she's just incredible.
That's amazing. I guess one of the questions then, just to sort of follow up on that, how important is it, do you think, if you're a mum, to have someone who is a bit further on than you that you can talk to, that you can get that advice from?
I think really just essential, really. There's so much when you become a mum for the first time. It's really scary. There's so much unknown. I found it didn't sort of come naturally to me. Some of the things, I wasn't really sure what to do about some things. There's so much that you want to know, or you want just someone to say to you, yeah, that's normal, don't worry about that, or yeah, you're doing fine. That's really all you need. But to have somebody who's just even just a little bit further on from you really, really helps. And I live in a city where I have amazing friends, but no family nearby. And so my friends became that community, that family that really helped me. And then family that live further away were always, at the end of the phone if I needed something. But yeah, I would say it's really important to get yourself part of that kind of group of people that can say, you're doing fine, it's okay, because it's hard, really hard.
Yeah. No, it's good tip there. Sal, listen, let's talk about your video first. And you talk about, in the video, you talked about very openly and very vulnerably about this sort of mixed emotion that you have on a Mother's Day. You've got your two beautiful girls. And did they spoil you today, by the way? Did they?
Yeah, they were great. Yeah, they woke me up with lovely presents and cards this morning, not too early. And then, yeah, they made pancakes for breakfast, and then they've got me a lovely afternoon tea, which we had a bit later on. So it's all about food and movies today, really, for me, which are like two of my favourite things. So, and presents, food, movies. That's me, sorted and happy. So yeah,
everybody just take note. Food and movies. That's how you win Sal over. Okay,
and presents.
Presents. As long as that present is a food or a movie, we're all right. But no, okay, just make sure. So on one hand, you've got this amazing, experience from your beautiful daughters, but on the other hand, obviously, you are experiencing something that I'm not at the moment, in the fact that your mum has passed away, and she passed away way too early. How do you cope with that? How do you manage that mixed emotion?
Yeah, that's really hard, especially, it's been, I think it's 11 years this year since my mum died. And at first it was really hard to be able to kind of celebrate and feel that pain at the same time, and those days were really difficult. And don't get me wrong, those days are still difficult. I think it's kind of what I was saying in mine is that grief changes, and I still miss my mum every day, but I've kind of got used to how I manage that pain on days like today. I find the build up is actually worse than the day itself. The actual sort of seeing the things in the shops and kind of thinking about what I perhaps would have done if my mum was here. And that's kind of harder than when it actually comes to the day. You know, the girls are there and we're doing things and it's busy, and it's quite different. So it's definitely the build up for me. Time, they say time heals. It doesn't. It just allows you to kind of live with it differently. That's how that's been my experience. And so that's kind of how I deal with those two things. But it's hard. It's really hard. Yeah.
No, I thought you were very brave, Sal. Can I ask, do you do anything on Mother's Day to remember your mum?
No, not specifically on Mother's Day. On other days, we do. On her birthday, on the anniversary of when she died. Those are the sort of days that we would do something kind of special to remember her. On her birthday, we try and do something fun that she would have loved. All together to kind of remember her like that. But no, on Mother's Day, I don't actually kind of do anything apart from just thinking about the Mother's Days that we did spend together and wishing that when I was younger, I'd, you know, been a bit better at kind of spoiling her and things. You know, when I was a kid, you know, she was a single mom, and I'm not sure how good me and my brother were at actually kind of spoiling her on Mother's Day. So yeah. You can't change those.
To be fair, no, you can't. And I kind of feel a bit sorry for my mum, to be fair, because she had two sons. Single mum had two sons. We were never going to be great at doing Mother's Day, to be fair. Hopefully we're getting better now. Now I've, you know, Sharon's involved and she helps me out tremendously.
Well, Sharon.
Which is just, it's a beautiful thing. So let's talk about Claire's video, because Claire was the first video where she, such an inspiring lady, because I mean, to have a stillborn child, I mean, that's just a whole different world for me. And I watched her, I must have seen that video like a few times now because of the editing process and just checking everything through. Every time I'm just like, Claire, you're amazing. You are fundamentally amazing.
She is incredible. How she kind of manages to keep that faith and keep that positivity and, you know, be there for other people when she's been through so much in her life is just incredible. And she's a real testament to God's love and God's faithfulness. And she's kind of, you know, really hung on to that in those dark times. I think that's what she was talking about. That comfort actually is real. That love actually is real and can make a difference when you've been through the worst imaginable thing in life. So yeah, she is definitely an inspiration.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. And you just get challenged, don't you, sometimes, because you listen to people's stories and you go, man, you know, that is so inspiring. And you've held on to God throughout the most complex and difficult situations, and God is real and God is there for you. And that's just absolutely fantastic. I'm totally stoked. One of the questions that did come to my mind throughout all of this is, when you're a mum, you know, do you suffer with I've not got a name for it. Let's just call it perfect mum syndrome.
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh wow. I remember when I was pregnant with Keone, I thought to myself, do you know, I am going to be the first perfect mother. Now, I'm sure that you know
I
this.
I don't doubt it, Sam. Go for it.
Some people say I'm competitive. I don't see it myself, but you know, that has been. But no, this was nothing to do with competition. But this was just like, you know, I had this thing. I don't want to make any mistakes. I don't want to, you know, I want this child to have the perfect parents, the perfect upbringing. I'm not going to make any mistakes at all. Read every book, do everything. Because I wanted this kind of perfect experience for my child. And then literally day one, that's out the window, you know, because it's just, you can't be perfect. None of us can be perfect. I had a whole routine because I felt like if I could control the routine of what she did and when she did it, then that would give me a sense of, you know, I'd know what I was doing and I'd know what was going to happen next. And that went out the window on day one as well. It's just really difficult. You can't hold yourself up to that sort of standard, because you're just going to fail. I think you just have to know that you are trying to do your best, and that's enough. Your best is enough. You are the best parent for your child, and doing your best in that moment is what they need. And we're all gonna fail, we're all gonna make mistakes, and we need to kind of be kind to ourselves when we do that. We need to let ourselves off the hook. I think mothers particularly, I can't talk to fathers, but for mothers, there's that guilt. There's that mother guilt all the time. Should I go? Should I work? Should I not work? Should I work part-time? Should I send my child to nursery? Should I not send you? Every decision you make, you feel kind of that sort of guilt about doing the right thing. And I really wish that we could just free mothers from that. We hold ourselves up to a ridiculous standard, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need to let ourselves off the hook there a bit.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And we could go on talking about this. I think that, listening to Jenni talking about, not being in control, and her story about having to trust God in the midst of things. And then Kirsten talking about forgiveness being at the center of their house. I mean, that doesn't actually sound that easy to do, really, but it sounds ideal. But I'm like, and there was this phrase, the occasional arguments that her and John had in front of the kids.
Occasional. I thought that was really interesting, wasn't it, about forgiveness? Not easy to do. Really, really not easy to do. Forgiveness is one of those things. It's an actual decision that you have to make, sometimes daily, and we're going to be talking about this kind of over the next few weeks in sort of other ways as well. But forgiveness is a really difficult thing, especially when someone has really hurt you. But modeling forgiveness to your children is really important. If you're someone, I don't know anybody like this, but if you're someone that holds a grudge, that can be tricky, and you need to you need to learn how to be sort of more forgiving, and how to kind of, say sorry to your kids. That's so important, isn't it, to model that? Yeah,
I thought that was really good. I think the fact that we need to forgive, but we also need to seek forgiveness is just, we're all in that sort of place in life, aren't we? We've all got to do both. And so I thought that was really great. And then Charlotte's comments about motherhood being an extreme roller coaster, white knuckle ride. I was like, there's actually an analogy. I can understand that. That was fantastic. That's really helpful.
Yeah, really good, really practical and real. And that's kind of what Charlotte is. She just she just really tells you how it is, and encourages you that you're doing okay, because it is a roller coaster ride. I thought it was really interesting, that whole lying awake worrying about your kids. You think that when they're grown, when they're older, you won't have that. You've already had a child go off to university. I'm facing my eldest going off at some point, and I'm thinking, how am I going to cope with that? The only way I'm going to cope with that is by taking these worries to God, because otherwise I'm never going to sleep. I mean, it's really, really tough. Being a parent's tough.
It is, and this is probably a good place to sort of draw the discussion to a conclusion. I like the thread which came through what everybody was saying was actually the thing about faith and motherhood is you can trust God. You can trust God with your kids. It's not always easy. It's not always straightforward, but fundamentally you can trust God with your kids, and you can trust God with yourself in some respects, like you were saying, in terms of being a mum, and he's going to look out for you, he's going to look out for your kids. That doesn't mean it's all going to go right, but he somewhere is involved in the whole thing. Would that be fair?
Absolutely. I'd much rather be going through this with God's help than on my own. If you haven't got that, where if you're not a Christian and you don't feel that you can go to God with these things, and I just think, how do you manage? Because knowing that God is in it with me is what kind of gets me through sometimes. And as you rightly say, that doesn't mean everything goes right and well, and that you're happy with all the choices your children make. You have to trust, you have to leave that, don't you, when they become adults? But knowing that you can go to God with these worries and for comfort, and it's just so helpful, so important.
Brilliant. Sal, thanks again. Thanks Jenni, thanks Claire, thanks Charlotte, and thanks Kirsten. Fantastic I feel like we could talk about this for many more hours, but time is against us in some respects. So we're going to go to, should we do catch up next?
Let's do catch up. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I think there'll be a really lovely picture of Matt in this week's catch up.
And just so you know, John Harding, if you're watching this, my mum has sent a load of photographs which we'll show after catch up as well. I don't mind what's going to ensue after this, but stay tuned. Here's catch up.
Hello and welcome to this week's Sunday catch up. For those of you who don't know me, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Josh. I am a member of the team here at Crowd Church, and I'm a student at the University of St Andrews studying physics. If you have never watched the stream before, welcome, it's great to have you here. Let me just quickly explain what Catch Up is. Every week we get in pictures and videos from members of the community, and we just put them up in this segment of the stream so that we all get a feel for how everyone is doing. If you're in the UK, happy Mother's Day to all the mums out there watching this. You're great, you're wonderful. Thank you for doing what you do. You know, as a son, I definitely greatly appreciate all the wonderful stuff that my mum does and the incredible person she is. So just take this day to relax and be pampered by your kids. In usual fashion, I will kick off the catch-up segment with what I've been up to this week. Every week I have a lab as part of my degree that I have to do. And recently I've been working on optics. Which is all to do with light and lenses and how you can make it do weird and wonderful things. And so on Friday, when I was working through this lab, I had to make this.
I'm making a telescope using some lenses and a small stack of playing cards. Yeah, you can see that the beam there is quite significantly bigger than it looks there.
So yeah, this is kind of what physicists do.
So what have you just done?
I threw an egg and it didn't crack.
Why did you throw an egg?
Experimentations. Or egg.
Great, thank you for sending all those in. It's really cool to see what everyone has been getting up to. Sally, thank you for sending in that picture of my dad. I don't think I've seen that before. Dad, can you explain what was going on in that picture? Like, I really don't understand. If you would like to see your stuff on Catch Up, then please send it in to the church WhatsApp number that you will see on the bottom of the screen, or you can use hashtag CrowdCatchup on Instagram, and I will be able to see whatever you want on Catch Up, and I'll be able to get it down and put it up for you. That's all from me this week. Thank you very much for watching. I will catch you next time.
Okay, I have no idea either. But it's like you're saying, I like how we just went, you just went, what? And then it just clicks in, what's going on? It's almost like we timed it that way. I don't quite understand why the system keeps going back to the worship songs. I will find out for next week. Anyway. Thanks.
Can I just have a little word with Josh Edmondson right now? I sent that pic in and he's put the tagline or something, Sally dresses up, as if I've just chosen to randomly dress up like that. Can I just clarify? That was World Book Day. I'm a primary school. Of course it was, Sal.
I thought that's how you spent Saturdays.
That was World Book Day. I was dressed as an Oompa Loompa, for those of you who couldn't tell. Sure. It wasn't just Sally dresses up. So I think, Josh, we need to clarify these things a little bit more, please.
No, I quite like the Oompa Loompa look for you, Sal. And let's all be clear, everyone watching this is what Sal does on a Saturday.
Wow. I'm going to stop giving you photos, Josh, unless you put the right captions in. And that
love
picture
it.
of Matt, that just popped up on Facebook, and I saw that and thought, wow, we need to share that with the world. So
Yeah, thanks
I
for
hope
that,
you
Sal.
enjoyed
That
that
photo was
one.
actually put on Facebook by a family friend. I was a page boy at my auntie's wedding. And so to the right of me was my mum. Actually, she was on my left, on the right in the photograph. But on my left was my mum. And that photo was me being a page boy. Absolutely. And I appreciate you putting that on.
Thought you'd enjoy that. What a gorgeous little boy you were. Lovely.
Well, absolutely. And I know the request, right? So let's deal with this now, because I'm just going to face this one head on, right? So here are some pictures you all wanted to see my mum sent in of me as a boy.
Oh, wow.
That's my brother next to me. And let's bring this one on the screen. That's me at my 7th birthday. And then this one here. Oh, that's the same one. Hang on. What's this one? Oh, there's me playing football. Oh, yeah. Check out those socks. Missing the ball completely, probably. And there's me for the first and last time doing the washing up. And check out that wallpaper there. I mean, that's,
wow, amazing. That dates you a little bit there, Matt.
It does a little bit, doesn't it? So, and then the other photograph that I said I'd show is this is the framed Mother's Day thing that I did. So I drew this cartoon. So here's me on the phone, realizing I'd made an error. So then I composed a piece of music. I wrote the letter, and then I sent it to my mum. And so, yeah. That's up in my mum's house, so I remember.
I love it. I love it. I thought that first picture was you with a very small dumbbell there, Matt, with your training program begins. So it's a telephone, okay.
Yeah. Just, it is what it is, right? It is what it is. So that's me as a kid. So there, I hope that clears that up.
Do share your pictures so that we can see some pictures of you as well, and you don't have to kind of see too many more of Matt's embarrassing pictures or mine. But,
I think I actually want to see your and mine embarrassing pictures. Just share yours anyway for the crowd catch-up. Do let us know. Send those in on the WhatsApp, or do use the hashtag crowd catch-up on your photos and videos so we can feature them in credits. It's always great to see what everyone else is doing, so make sure you do that. Josh here has put in the comments, unlimited power in response to you, so.
Well, yeah, I think that we can always find a way, Josh, of embarrassing you more. So.
Oh, the battle is on.
Watch out.
Matt Crew doesn't believe it was a World Book Day thing, Sal, that was going on.
It was. Genuinely was.
I think next time you say it was, you should do it with a slightly higher pitch in your voice.
It was definitely World Book Day. Although I'm not sure if I can carry on that sentence. I was going to say I do like dressing up, but in a context, like if there was a dressing up party. In the first lockdown, we did each week, the Birch family would do like a theme, and we would make our outfit costumes like through the week. And then on the Saturday, we would dress up. This is sounding awful.
We need to stop talking. I'm just saying. You're not helping like your cause.
My kids are going to kill me. My kids are going to kill me. We would do a quiz, watch a movie, and it would be like related to the theme. Second lockdown didn't happen, just didn't have the energy for it at all, but it was fun. But no, I genuinely promise you that picture of the Oompa Loompa World Book Day.
Gemma says here that you wear that when you go to Bongo's Bingo.
Well, I wouldn't be adverse to doing that. I tell you what. Should we go? Let's go to.
Yeah, let's move off those. Trev actually wrote. Let's go to what Trev said, because Trev wrote here. He said the analogy of the roller coaster is the same for grandparents too. Sometimes upside down, sometimes feels like over the cliff, but God is always with us through thick and thin. And I think I'm going to put that on the broadcast. There you go, so you can see that. But I thought that was really interesting, actually. That whole analogy for being a grandparent, the roller coaster thing, is actually true when you are a grandparent as well as a parent. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So what have we got coming up next week? I'm asking you. I'm not even sure you know, but I thought I'd ask.
Well, we've definitely got someone speaking. We've definitely got some worship. We've definitely got some catch up, and we've definitely got Matt Edmondson. So what else have we got?
Are you joining us next week? Are you joining in next week?
I might do it. Depends how nice you are to me, Matt.
Next week, Sharon is speaking. So Sharon Edmondson, my beautiful wife, is going to be speaking next week. And she's going to be looking at the prayer of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane as we continue on our journey through Mark's Gospel. You are not going to want to miss that. It's going to be fantastic. The week after, we have another very talented lady speaking.
Now, who's that?
That'll be you, Sal.
Okay,
so I hope you're
that's
ready
me.
and prepared.
Don't worry, I'm ready and prepared. Yep.
Brilliant. So we've got 2 great weeks coming up, so do make sure you stay connected with that. Let's close out today's service. Now, we normally close this out by playing a worship song, which we're going to do that. But Sal, I just wanted to say, listen, happy Mother's Day. What would you say, final comment to those that maybe do struggle with Mother's Day?
I would say the most important thing is don't struggle on your own. Tell someone that you are struggling. Ask for help. Ask another person that you trust for help, but you can also go to God and ask for help as well. But I think it's really, really important to tell someone that you are struggling and let them help you.
Brilliant. Thank you. And from me, from a son and a husband, I get to see my wife, who's an amazing mother to our children, and I was brought up by an amazing woman. I just want to say a big, huge shout out to mums everywhere, grandmothers everywhere. Thank you so much for all the amazing things you do. Thank you for putting up with crazy people like me and the difficult men in this world. Let's just put it that way, and then we'll move on. And I really, really appreciate it. So a big, hearty, warm thank you to all of you. God sees what you do. And he appreciates it, and he appreciates you. So I think on that note, we shall move on to our end of worship. So we're going to play one worship song, and the live stream will close after this. That's all from me and Sally. So have a fantastic week wherever you are, and we'll be back again.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, everyone. It's been lovely to be with you this afternoon.
Bless you.
Let the king of my heart be the mountain where I run, the fountain I drink from. Oh, he is my song. Let the king of my heart be the shadow where I hide, the ransom of my life. Oh, he is my song. You are good. You're good. Oh, 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 let the king of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves. Oh, he is my song. Let the king of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days. Oh, he is my song.
Let the king of my heart be the fire inside my veins, and the echo of my days. Oh, he is my song. For you are good, you're good. Oh, and 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 you're never gonna let me down.